Hey guys, what's up? And today we are having a chip planning strategy as was mentioned by my colleague. But before we get there, let's have a look at game week 23. So game week 23, not a very good game week for many people. As you can see, the average points was 35 points. How did we do? 32 points, so slightly below average, and then we also took an 8-point hit, so not a very good game week. How did it impact our rank? So we dropped from about 93,000 to just outside of the top 100k to about 120k. So it's not a train smash, but it all depends on how we react from this. So keep in mind also, guys, if you never had a good game week, you can't always have green arrows. Everything is relevant to what's happening in the overall game. So if there was a game week to have a bad score, this is the one. Okay, so in terms of performance, nothing much really to talk about, except for De Gea and Dallo, who did relatively well. And then the main talking point was Dennis and his red card that had a -1. And then if you captained him, unfortunately, a -2. But don't despair, in another game week, Dennis might actually score a brace and all might be forgiven. Okay, so let's just see, how does a bus team look like for game week 24? So this is before any transfers are made. So we're looking possibly captaining Bowen. If we do make a transfer, it's possibly going to be Mo Salah, which is going to be a debatable point whether he actually is going to start or even play in game week 24, because Egypt, as many of you are aware, are playing in the African Cup of Nations, and as we speak currently, Egypt are actually playing in the final of the AFCON. After 45 minutes, the score is Senegal 0, Egypt 0, just out of interest. But regardless of the outcome, Mo Salah will most likely be returning back to his country about 2 days before the next Liverpool match. And depending on formalities or celebrations, that could be delayed. So just keep that in mind. But regardless, Mo Salah is likely to be playing in a game week quite soon. So if you have him in, as you know, he's a solid player as you can get. Okay, so just keep in mind this team that I've currently showing on screen. We'll be looking at a possible wildcard early chip strategy, how the wildcard teams compare to this, and then we can compare just to assess whether it is a viable strategy or not. Just a quick peek at effective ownership. As you can see, Dennis and King, they feature quite high up on here, and that is because they had double game weeks. So keep in mind that these statistics are 1 week in arrears, so this could change by next game week. But no surprises here. Bruno Fernandes overtaken Ronaldo, Antonio still in there, hanging in there, Foden, Watkins. So yeah, all the top players that you would expect. Okay, so what's happening in the FPL world? What are people transferring in? Were they transferring out? So top transfers so far to date, this is from the FPL website. Luca Digne, after his transfer and 12-pointer recently, he's top of the pops, and then it's next is Bowen, and then it's Coutinho, who's also transferred in recently to Aston Villa back in the Premier League, and he's also been on fire. Edouard, who's actually had some great performances, nailing down a spot in the Crystal Palace team. And then Mo Salah. Yeah, that's the one interesting to see. Ahead of any news, ahead of Liverpool's match, you could see that number increase. Then who players transferring out? Dennis. I think many knee-jerk reactions probably there. I'm not sure that's really justified, but yeah, many people probably improving their team because he's not playing a double game week. Mount, after a recent no-show. Rudiger, James, Chelsea defenders. Chelsea are not playing in game week 24, so it makes sense to actually remove those players because they have another blank in game week 25 as well. And then Mo Salah, interesting that he features on here as well. I'm not sure that I agree with this. If you have Mo Salah, you keep him this stage because he's almost ready to play, if not guaranteed to play. Yeah, I think that's rather interesting. And then just a quick peek at price changes. So let's just refresh this website, and let's have a look at who are the top players currently. Let's take the top 50. Give us a longer list. So no surprises really here. De Gea's had a sublime season. Coutinho, mentioned earlier, Saint Maximum, that's probably quite interesting. Soufal, Jota hasn't been in the best of form, but he scored in the FA Cup today, so he might be back in form again. Ramsey, who's been in great form, and then yeah, we've got some United boys also down there, and then Cancelo. So no surprises really on that front. Okay, so what do we have here? We've got a game week by game week analysis of the key game weeks, which is mainly indicated in the orange brownish color that reflects the main game weeks for doubles and blanks. So firstly, starting off with game week 24, we have a blank, as you might be aware, Brighton and Chelsea. For game week 25, we've also got Arsenal, Chelsea, so that's why a lot of Chelsea players have been transferred out. And then we've got a double game week here for Brighton and Man United, so not a big one. And yeah, my suggestion is if you are having, say, 3 or 4 double game week players, that's actually quite a reasonable balance to have. I wouldn't say having 6 players from Brighton and Man United in total would actually give you a massive advantage. You could score in that game week, but it could cost you transfers down the line. So keep that in mind, unless you've got a chip that you're playing or so to get out of that. Okay, and then we've got a big double, which includes Arsenal and Liverpool. So many people will probably bring in those players as well as Tottenham. And then we've got some other teams such as Burnley, Crystal Palace, Leeds, Watford, and Wolves. And because Mo Salah almost likely is guaranteed to play in this match or that game week, hopefully he'll play both matches. And even if he does not play a complete 90 minutes, he's very likely to get minutes in both matches. So the most common strategy is most likely triple captainship. And also the teams that he's playing is Norwich at home and Leeds. So what other better game week FPL A+ could you ask for? Are you likely to triple captain Mo Salah in game week 26?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, it's a very common strategy. You could get a better game week potentially, but it doesn't look like it. Leicester for a triple game week is possibly an option. However, it's not very common. We had a triple game week last year, and then before that, the last time it was like 14 years before that. So that's not something to bank on, and it could happen that Mo Salah could outscore a Leicester player that's got more games. So it's happened before if you look at history. Okay, then game week 27, we've got a big blank where we've got Liverpool, Chelsea, Leicester, and Arsenal. So just keep in mind, we spoke about Arsenal, Liverpool trying to bring their players in. So now they've got the opposite, they're blanking. So now the question is, what do you do? One option is you could potentially free hit out of that team that you had, so that you can get your Liverpool, Arsenal players out. You probably won't have Chelsea players. So it just depends if you've got too many of those players, you could potentially free hit out of it, or if you don't have too many, you could possibly have. So let's say you've got 4 players, you could put 3 on the bench, and you could possibly make a transfer for the other player. Okay, so that's just something to consider. And then there is possible other double game weeks depending on fixture announcements, but potentially Burnley, Wolves, Watford, and even perhaps Aston Villa that could possibly double in that game week. And then we've got game week 28. So game week 28, we don't know yet any details, but there could be a double. But very important to note that there is a fixture swing. So Chelsea have got some great game weeks after game week 28, so it's a good time to bring them in, while Man United are kind of don't have the best of fixtures, and then Leicester and Wolves have also got some great fixtures. And then another game week of note is game week 30, that's likely to be a blank, a big one. after today's FA Cup 5th round draw, it looks like there could potentially be a minimum of 3 teams that could feature. That would include Manchester United, well, actually not Manchester United as they're playing Liverpool, but it could feature most likely Leicester, who were knocked out today, and 2 other teams. And then there could be a maximum of 7 teams that blank, which means that only 3 teams that you could potentially get a sort of very, very minimal fixtures. So it's just something just to keep in mind. And then if you have a look at the next major game week, we've got game week 36, which is a likely double. It's the most common big double game week that's been the past few seasons. So from a chip strategy perspective, many people will be looking to bench boost, as that's likely to be a double game week with a lot of top teams. Game week 30 would be most likely a free hit. Depends on whether the teams that are competing makes it quite viable and attractive. We spoke about the free hit in game week 27 and the triple captain in game week 26. So the only other chip not covered is potentially the wild card, and I'm contemplating one of 2 options. I could either wild card in game week 24/25, or the other option is ahead of game week 36. So either game week 35 or somewhere just before that. FL8 Plus Junior, what are you planning to do with your wild card? Are you likely to wild card currently, or are you likely to actually keep your wild card for later in the season?
Yes, later in the season, yes.
Okay, now that's great. I think that could be quite a patient strategy, but it could possibly pay off dividends quite well. And then just keep in mind, game week 38, that you could also use your free hit or wildcard there, as that's often certain teams that have nothing to play for. There's a lot of rotation. So if there are team leaks, then you could potentially have some massive swings there if you can correctly include certain differentials in your team. Okay, so what you've got here is wildcard team option number 1. So this is if I am deciding to wildcard in Game 24. So just briefly, just to cover how this team has been formulated. So firstly, the focus has been on Game Week 24 and 25 to make sure that you've got teams that are playing. So Chelsea are not playing, as well as Brighton are not playing. So you won't see any Chelsea players. Game Week 25, we've got Man United that are doubling, as well as Brighton. So in this team, we've got De Gea, Dalot, and Fernandes. Okay. So also please note that this team cost 36 points, which if you had to take transfers over the 3 game weeks to navigate from game week 24 to game week 26, that's about 12 points per game week. That won't be practical, and therefore a wildcard would make sense if you wanted this ideal team. So we've also got Watford, who are doubling in game week 26. So we've got 2 of their players. Then Arsenal, we've got White and Martinelli. They are doubling in game week 26 as well. And then we've got Liverpool, we've got Robertson, Alexander-Arnold, and Bruno Fernandes will move to Mo Salah in game week 26. We've got 1.4 million in the bank. We only need $1 million to upgrade. And then we've also got Son and Kane, who as a combination will be a good differential. Not many people will have them. They both got double game weeks in game week 26. And then Edouard, who's also been quite in brilliant form for Crystal Palace up top. He's also got a double game week 26. And then the only single game week players are Laporte and Bowen, who are playing for very solid teams that have been in great form recently themselves. Okay, so that's option 1. We move to option number 2. So wildcard option number 2. The main difference here, everything is basically the same, except instead of Foster and Laporte, we've got Ramsdale and Cucurella. So take your pick which option you think is better out of those two. Let me know down in the comments which option you think is actually better. So this gives you, in terms of double game week players, you basically only have, so now you've got Bowen and Laporte. Sorry, you've only got Bowen, and then, sorry, my apologies, Ramsey is the third single game week player. So Bowen and Ramsey, they are the two single game week players. In version 1 or team 1, you had 3. Okay, but keep in mind Ramsey will probably be on the bench. Then option number 3 for the wildcard. The main changes here, instead of Son and Kane, you've got Salah and Ronaldo. So this is bringing in Mo Salah early to cash in if he holds against Leicester, which could be very likely after blanking the last time. And then Ronaldo to cash in on the double game week. Okay, so not a double United defense, and then rather in defense doubling up on Feldman and Webster from Brighton. And then instead of Dennis, we've got more pay. Okay. So this team is actually quite a solid team. The only problem I think I have potentially with this team is having 3 Brighton players, especially two defenders. Okay, but let me know down in the comments below which team do you think is the best out of the top, out of those 3 that's mentioned, team 1, team 2, or team 3. Okay, so now moving on to the planning for the current team. So if we were not to play the wild card, how does it compare if we had to navigate our current team with possible transfers? And then out of this comparison, we can then assess, is our current team and our navigation options reasonable so that we don't need to use a wild card, or is it not looking very good that we do need to use a wild card? Okay, so firstly, this is how the team lines up for Gameweek 24 with the transfer of Mo Salah in for Raheem Sterling. So that would use the free transfer. We'd most likely captain Mo Salah, and if he doesn't play, Bowen will be most likely the alternative captain option as a vice captain, and then on the bench we'll have Joshua King, who will actually come on in place of Mo Salah if he doesn't get any minutes. So not probably very ideal to have both Watford boys, or even one of them, I suppose, after the last game week. But other than that, the rest of the team doesn't look too bad. I think relatively good performances could possibly be forthcoming. If I look at the defense, it looks pretty solid. Jota hopefully back in form. Bowen's got a reasonable game. Foden also has a good game. So yeah, you could expect this team to do better than average. So I think the main goal is, can we get a green arrow out of this team? And I think it is very possible. Okay, then moving on to Gameweek 25. So Gameweek 25, what are we doing here? So Gameweek 25, we're moving Cucurella from the bench. He never played in Gameweek 24, so he's got a double. Along with Man United, we've got De Gea, we've got Dalot, and we have got Ronaldo. And then Foden is playing Norwich if he does start, and Cancelo as well. So those are relatively good games. And then we have got Alexander-Arnold and Salah and Jota playing Burnley. That should be quite interesting and hopefully easy win for Liverpool. And then we've got Dennis who's playing Brighton, so that's not going to be the easiest of games. And then just taking a peek, which other teams are there that have got reasonably good fixtures? Aston Villa could bring in someone like a Ramsey, or we could possibly bring him in a game week later. And then we have got let's see, Crystal Palace, also pretty decent fixture against Brentford. Everton seems also relatively good fixture on paper, but I think with Everton, the new manager, I think we're going to probably give them some time just to settle in. Liverpool, as mentioned, relatively easy fixtures. Manchester City as well, a good fixture. Man United also, it looks good on paper. And then the rest, Spurs, they've got quite a cagey fixture against Wolves. Watford, that'll also be quite a tight match. West Ham, that'll be an interesting match between West Ham and Leicester, and then Wolves. Yeah, also probably a tight match there. So overall, if you're looking at whether this team can score a green arrow, I think it is possible. I don't think that there's much besides Aston Villa that Aston Villa that probably could improve this team significantly. So so that's possibly the plan for Game Week 25, and then let's move over to Game Week 26. So let's look at Game Week 26. So Game Week 26, what do we have? So we have brought in, so without making any transfers in Game Week 25, we now have 2 transfers in Game Week 26, so let's utilize that fully. So Game Week 26, Arsenal have got a fixture, they've got a double game week, so while De Gea has got 1, good idea to bring in Ramsdale, so he's got 2 fixtures. Then we have got Martinelli in place of Emile Smith-Rowe. So I thought long and hard about this because you could have left Emile Smith-Rowe in and then rather downgraded Foden to Martinelli so that you've got 2 Arsenal midfielders. However, Emile Smith-Rowe's minutes, unless it changes in the next game week or 2, he hasn't been starting games, so there isn't that guarantee that he'll actually, he might play 1 game week, he might not play the other, so potentially Martinelli gives you a better hit ratio in terms of guaranteed minutes. So that's the thinking behind that. And then Foden has also got, if you look at Manchester City, they've also got some reasonably good fixtures. So you could potentially maximize on Man City performances there as well by keeping him. So overall, if you're looking at this team, you've got Kane also, who's got a double game week. You've got him in. So game week 26, and then you've got Dennis and you've got King. So overall, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 double game weekers, which is pretty decent. Keep in mind that having a team of 11 double game weekers is not always and rarely gives you a better result than having an ideal mix of double game weekers and top players. One player can score in 1 match as a top player more than many players can score in 2 matches if their pedigree and their team performances are not the same. So keep that in mind. So for instance, Bowen has got a reasonably good fixture against Newcastle, and he could do quite well in there. Similarly with Cancelo as well. Okay, so this is the game week that we hope to do the magic with Mo Salah against Norwich and Leeds, both home games, triple captain. Okay, so that's the plan for game week 26, and we believe we can get a green arrow from it. So let's move on to game week 27. How does that look? So game week 27, if we are looking at the team as is, Ramsdale doesn't play, so we would need to actually start the year, who is actually playing Watford, so that should be a reasonably good fixture. And then the defense looks quite reasonable, probably tough game for Cucurella and Sufal. And then we have got a transfer. We've taken out Jota, brought in Ramsey because Aston Villa could have double game weeks coming up ahead, and we are considering also potentially Robertson. So in order to free up that 3rd Liverpool spot, we need to take out a player, and also that creates funds. So we've got 3.6 million in the bank, and we could probably upgrade Sufal or Cucurella to someone like Robertson. Okay, so then we've got Foden, who's got a reasonably good fixture. Bowen, that should be an interesting match against Wolves. Kane, at this stage, captain, who seems to have a reasonably good fixture. And then we've got Dennis and King, who have actually got matches against Manchester United. So that becomes quite an interesting matchup, as we've got double Man United defense, and then we've got double Watford attack. So Overall, the team doesn't look too bad. This, I'm not that convinced that we'll probably get a green arrow. If we just have a look at Gameweek 27, where's the points lying? We probably need more Man United players, I guess, for this match. And then keep in mind, United's matches subsequently are not looking very good. We have got Southampton that could probably also have a good match against Norwich. So the option could be quite viable to free hits in this match and then to try to maximize on teams that are doing quite good. So potentially Man United attack, as well as so following probably Crystal Palace as well, and I would say Manchester City as well. I think their attackers should also probably do quite well against Everton. So overall, this might not give us a green arrow, but I think free hit is an option. But overall, I think looking at steering through to Gameweek 27, I think I might have spoken myself out of potentially wildcarding. It does seem like we can navigate through it. We might not get as much points for those 3 matches as a wildcard could potentially, but I think there could be more upside in terms of wildcarding at the later stage when there's more issues with the team. So keep in mind, whenever you are contemplating using a chip, compare it to what most other top managers are potentially doing, just to get some sort of relevance for comparability and not to miss out. But also at the same time, it's very team dependent. Compare to your specific team like we've done now, and then also consider, is this the best opportunity to use that chip? So for instance, the triple captain chip on Liverpool, Mo Salah, on paper, that's probably the opportunity of the season. And then in Gameweek 27, a free hit team could work potentially for this team. For some people's teams, it might not work. So just keep in mind. Okay, now let's move on to the FPL A Plus Mini League, the Super League. Okay, so in top spot, we have got number 1, we've got Dollar Bill Stern. Well done, Dollar, holding on there to top spot, holding a healthy lead. In second spot, we've got Joking Joel. In third spot, we have got Sanjay Khatri with Khatrik United. In fourth, we have got Nipachan Uttup. In fifth, we've got White Walkers. In sixth place, we have got Shack Attack United. In seventh, we have got Magambena Adira. Eighth spot, we've got Jordan Awakani. Ninth place, we've got Wengchang FC. Oh, excuse me, in ninth place, we've got Obina Akoli, and in 10th place, we've got Wengchan FC. Well done, guys, for reaching the top 10. Keep it up, and those that are not in the top 10, keep on pushing, and your opportunity will come. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's show, and that the tips and strategy is quite useful. And keep in mind to remain patient, and make sure that you are not just foaming into a chip, but you are actually applying it for your relevant team. All the best for Game Week 24, guys. Cheerio.